Calico fans, this is H.H. Sherman from Sigma Comics, coming to you from the greatest city in the world, New York City. That's right, Gotham. And we have another wonderful video for you. Please go ahead and hit the like button and the subscribe button, because you know what? I think you're going to love this video. So give us a shot. Give us your support. I think you're going to love what you have to hear here. And before I continue, I'm going to take a swig of the Calico Cup. I always lie and say I'm going to take one. Good stuff. And some of you might be curious, what is it I'm taking a swig of? This is a fine wine, but this is not any wine. This is a non-alcoholic wine. You're thinking to yourself, HH, how the hell are you doing this to yourself? You're drinking wine without alcohol? Well, I do drink wine with alcohol. But sometimes I just want to take a break from the alcohol. I'm not really a big drinker, but I do like the taste of wine. And this brand here, this is one that I like to have. It's called Free. I guess that's how you say it. And they call it a sophisticated alternative, and that's what I like to do. I like to take a break from the alcohol, and as I mentioned, I'm not really a big drinker per se, but if I'm having a meal with fresh Italian bread and olives and things like that, I like to do that. So that's what I'm doing right now. You just can't see it. It's on the side here. All right, folks. Let's talk about what we've been doing for the past 2 years, which is conventions. I don't think there's any other comic book publisher that is touring as prolifically as Sigma Comics. And we are touring all across the continent. That's right. We've been throughout all of North America. And there's a very good likelihood that we'll be traveling abroad again in 2024. Well, actually, we will be traveling abroad. I know that for a fact. But outside of the continent. So that's very likely. So today I want to talk to you about our travels and how we go about conventions, and maybe even give you some tips while we're at it, right? So I think that would be a good thing. So we started, Sigma Comics was founded in mid-2020, all right? And we really focused the bulk of that first year on the comic story of Here Comes Calico, and we put out the first issue. And it wasn't until the end of 2021 that we started with the convention circuit. Okay, our very first convention was at the very end of November in North Carolina. A little show there called I think it was called the Charlotte Comic Con, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think that's what it was called. And that was very nice introduction to us in terms of doing these shows. We made some mistakes early on, but we learned from our mistakes, and we're going to talk to you about these things so that if you guys are comic book publishers, then you can learn from our mistakes, and you can do better, or at least get off to a better start. All right. So we're not just going to talk to you about this, but we're also talking to people, fans of comic books, so they can sort of know what we do out there and how we get the word out. All right. So shortly after that first show, we were in Chicago for C2E2. So yeah, I say the first 3 shows we did. Again, the first one was that Charlotte Comic Con. It was a one-day show on a Saturday. The second show, if I'm not mistaken, was the C2E2 show, and then it was the Seattle show. Or I could have those latter two flipped in reverse. It might be that we did the Seattle show first and then C2E2. Either way, those were our first 3 shows, and again, we learned quite a bit. We used to go out with this 10 by 10 background banner, and it was just one big huge thing that was like 8 foot wide and 10 foot tall with our backdrop. And we stopped doing that, and now what we do is we do the same space, but we do it as 2 banners that are 4 foot tall, right? Because 4 plus 4 is 8, so you got the width right there, and then you still have the, the 8-foot long banners. The backdrop is still the 10 by 10, so you have some space from the bottom of the 8-foot banner to the ground. Okay, that's just air. So that's what we did, and now we just put those two banners together side by side. And instead of one big calico image, there's two calico images side by side vertically. We found that that's a very efficient way to travel. It also gets us under the weight of 50 pounds. When you guys travel to these shows, you have a 50-pound limit when you're carrying, when you do the check-in bags, right? So we have a 4-foot tall, it looks like a golf bag that fits the banners and the stands. And it comes in at just under 40 pounds, which means that if we wanted to, if we're going to a bigger show, like a Comic-Con or a New York Comic-Con, et cetera, we have more weight that we can put in that bag. In the event of New York Comic-Con, we don't have to fly, so we could just take that locally because we're from New York. But a Comic-Con, which is in San Diego, that's going to have to get checked in, and we would have an extra 10 pounds of comics that we can put in there. So we pack those really well, and we max out that 50 pounds on there in that bag with 10 pounds extra of comics. I think it's actually 12 pounds that we put in because I think it's like 38 pounds, something like that. All right. Then we have our comics luggage, and that is a 50-pound capacity too. But what we do is this is going to be very helpful for you guys out there who sell independent, who are indie comic creators. And yeah, we want to help you guys. That's the thing about comics, at least the indies. We help each other out. All right, and this message is for you right now, indie creators. We're going to help you out with this one. So remember, I told you the 50-pound max. We have the comic book luggage. All right, and that one for us is a 30-inch tall suitcase, I should say, a hard one. And we open that up, and in there we put about, I think it's about 40, let's call it 46 pounds of just pure comics, right? And then we have a 4-pound carry-on bag that we put in there. So when we get to the airport, we open up the luggage, we take the carry-on out, okay? And what we do is, or I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's not 46 pounds. It's about 86 pounds, 86 to 90 something pounds of comics in that big luggage. And what we do is we take 50 pounds of those comics and we put it into the carry-on bag, because I can take any weight on the carry-on bag, all right? So what's left is about 47, 48 pounds on the luggage that's going to be checked in, all right? So I carry on about 50 pounds of comics in my carry-on, and then I've got the 46 to 50, almost 50 pounds of comics in the luggage. So it's 100 pounds of comics, right? So every single show that we do, we take 100 pounds of comics with us, and that's how you're able to maximize your comic book inventory. All right. So this is a huge one, a huge tip for you guys out there. The other thing that we do is we always use the credit card points for the shows, okay? And we get the credit cards that are the airline cards. Once you get one of those airline cards, what happens is they waive one of your bag fees. So now you're spending $40 less on one way. So two ways, it's $80 that you just saved on the trip, right? And if you meet a mileage plan, which we did last year, then both bags are free. Now you're flying, you're going to save $160, because it's $40 each bag, and then both ways. So it's $80 one way and $80. That's just saving $100, $160 each trip. Okay, so may not be a huge amount for each show, but guess what? If you're having 30, 40 shows, which we certainly do, that's going to go into the thousands pretty quickly, right? So, hot tip for you guys out there and gals that are indies out there or in Artist Alley, whatever you do. Again, we want to help you out. It's a wonderful tip. You're going to save yourself lots of money and headache, and that's how we get over there. In terms of the shows that we do, we do a lot of the big ones. We prefer the big ones. I mentioned C2E2 and the Emerald City show in Seattle. Those are two shows that we typically do. We certainly do the C2E2 show. The Emerald City show is a bit far for us, so sometimes we do it, and sometimes we don't. But we certainly do C2E2. We also do Comic-Con every year. Every single year that we've been around, we've done Comic-Con. We've been accepted, and we appreciate that very much. The people over there at Comic-Con International are definitely supporters of the fight against animal abuse, and we appreciate them very much. We do a lot of shows from Fan Expo. We do like Fan Expo. They're a good company, and they do a lot of the shows like the Boston Fan Expo. They're the company behind the Fan Expo shows. Okay, the Boston Fan Expo. They do the Chicago Fan Expo, Cleveland Fan Expo, etc., etc. We do quite a bit of those shows, and we have a good time there. We do ReedPop shows, New York Comic Con, MegaCon, C2E2 is another one of those shows. Those are excellent shows as well. And we find that the bigger shows are better for us. You know, everyone's different with respect to how they sell and where they sell, and we find that the bigger shows are better. Some of these smaller shows can be iffy. You know, it's a toss-up. Sometimes you can go to a small show, it can be very good because it's an intimate crowd, it's a more knowledgeable crowd, so they come right to you and they know what they're looking for. It could also be a bad thing because we're an indie, no one really knows about us, right? You spend more time having to educate people, and the people at those shows are a bit more discerning, and they're more set in their ways because they know what they're looking for. It's a lot harder for you to try to pitch them on a brand new thing. So you do find people at these shows that are going to be more into searching the bins, the comic book bins, and they don't really care to learn about new indies, even if it's a great one. And it's unfortunate because the story is great case in point is Walking Dead. Walking Dead, I don't know if some of you in the audience realize this, but that started as a comic book, an indie comic book, okay, black and white. And you have people going to the comic book shop not knowing that this thing was one of the best comic books in the store and leaving without it. Okay, thankfully, again, bless those comic book shops, because you do have people that are into indie comics, and it was clear right from the beginning to them that this was a hot book. And they, of course, that's the benefit of having the comic book shop, is people talk. It's a comic book shop is not just a place to buy comics. It's really a setting to purchase and discuss comic book fandom, right? And that's precisely what happened with The Walking Dead. People talked about it and said, hey, this thing is pretty damn good. And of course it showed in the sales, and the rest is history. So the point is that it's very difficult to do that at a con, okay, a Comic-Con, because it's not really a setting to discuss fandom. The discussion in a Comic-Con is really on panels, okay? The actual floor culture, people aren't talking about comics. They're gonna probably talk about it in the cafeteria area when they're sitting down. Hey, did you see that movie? And they'll talk about it platonically by complimenting each other's cosplay and things like that. Oh, did you see that part? I love that part of that movie, and that character's great. Oh, you look great, da da da. But when it comes to, hey, have you checked out that new independent title that's in Small Press or in Artist Alley? That's not really something that is happening everywhere on the show floor. It's happening, don't get me wrong, but it's not happening with regularity, or at least enough regularity that you're going to have a huge influx of people buying, indie comics. The reality is at a convention, that there are many different things that are competing for your attention. Okay, a lot of eye candy between the cosplay, the games, video gaming, the board games, the art, the tchotchkes, the models, the toys. There's so many different things that are competing for your attention at a Comic-Con. And, it's great that it's like that. We appreciate it for that. But, you know, the essence of a Comic-Con had always been comics. And that's simply not the case these days. You have a lot of things. I mean, we go to shows sometimes where, you know, it's very clear and obvious that comic books is the last thing of interest, you know, or discussion. It's cosplay, it's gaming, it's all these other things that have absolutely nothing, you know, manga, anime, have nothing to do with comics. Meanwhile, these are Comic-Cons. I mean, it's incredible. So, but, you know, that's the way things are. So it's up to you, indie creator, to do your very best if you're going to leverage the convention circuit to, you know, make conventions a healthy part of your marketing mix, to know these things going in. And this is something that we're conveying to you today for your benefit. Know that you're going to have to do a lot of extra work out there. You know, the guy selling comic books for Marvel and DC at these big, you know, booths, and they have Spider-Man and Batman and all these, and they have these bins. They don't even have to open their mouth. You've seen them at the shows. They're basically sitting there reading a magazine or playing on their phone as people go through their bins, and or, you know, or buying, you know, books off their stand or whatever they setup they have, because people already know Marvel, you know, Spider-Man, Batman, these characters. They don't know the Calico. Okay, so guess what I have to do? Yours truly and Casey, our head of sales, we have to stand there 24/7 and go up and down having these conversations about the Calico and why these people who have never heard of the Calico should put down that Spider-Man or Batman, whatever it is, and give us some attention and learn about the Calico so they can buy our book. And that's what we have to do. It's a lot more energy that we have to expend, and that's why we're fit, because there's a lot of sweat equity. All right, we burn thousands of calories at these shows. All right, we're not sitting down, that's for sure. Any one of you who's seen us at the show, it's a very good chance that you didn't see me sitting down at our booth. All right, so folks, if you're an indie creator out there, stand up and sell your comics. Let people know about them. Don't just sit there behind the booth. Get up there and shake some hands and tell people about your comic book character. We firmly believe in the Calico, and that's why we're asking you right now to head on over to Kickstarter. We do have a Kickstarter campaign right now. I think you're really gonna love it. It's Here Comes Calico issue 8. It's our final issue of the series. It's a double issue, and you should have it in your collection along with the whole set. And you can get the whole set at on Kickstarter at Here Comes Calico's page. All you got to do is go to Kickstarter.com and type in Here Comes Calico, and you'll get the whole campaign that pops up. And all you got to do is hit that back it button and select the reward, and you're good to go. So with that, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget, this is what these comics look like. I mean, take a look at this. Escape from the Bronx, issue 7. That's available right now on the Kickstarter, along with issue 8 of Here Comes Calico. Get it, Kickstarter.com, and keep helping us in our fight against animal abuse.